When you play a lot of video games, trying to find something that feels truly unique, but also that feels familiar and comfortable at the same time, is pretty hard, especially in the AAA space. Next time you watch a gaming event such as a Nintendo Direct, a State of Play, or something even bigger like a Summer Games Fest, count how many Souls-likes, farming sims, and over-the-shoulder 3D action story games you'll see. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that any of these games are bad, but the industry knows what people like and won't stop force-feeding us with these titles. To the point, me, someone who likes to consume a lot of the same thing over and over and over again, thinks the amount of Souls-likes we get is simply a bit too much. But that's only talking about one side of this multi-layered industry. So of course, once again, I want to champion the breathing life of fresh and creative ideas in this industry. That being the indie games. And the indie game that I want to champion today is one that is exactly what this industry needs more of, fresh, creative ideas, and it's the kind of stuff that could only be done at an indie level. As if you were to present this game and its ideas to a AAA studio, they would laugh you out of the room. So enough beating around the bush, the game I want to talk about today is Denshattack. So what is Denshattack, if I'm even saying that name right, as it's even got a rather unique name? But the best thing I want to do is simply just show you some gameplay. As even though I want to go into some details, this simply needs to be seen to be believed. And if you're wondering what you just looked at, then honestly, you're probably not alone. As when I first saw this, I was overwhelmed at what I had just seen, and that was for multiple reasons. But if I was to describe what this game is, I think the image that the developers put on Twitter is the best way to describe the game. It's a mix of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Jet Set Radio. And if you're young and don't know what either of them things are, Tony Hawk was a famous skater back in the 90s, so famous they made a skating game series named after him, and starring him. They were well loved up until they weren't, and Jet Set is a hyper-stylized version of Tony Hawk, but instead of skateboarding, add some skates and instead you have a beloved cult classic. But instead of skateboards or roller skates, Denshattack decides what if we do it, but with a train. You know, the only logical step up. And you play as Emmy, a Denshattacker, which is basically someone who competes against other Denshattackers in a contest of style, time and lunacy, as your goal is to become the #1 Denshattacker in futuristic Tokyo. The game is set in a very simple story, but that's clearly not what the game is aiming for. What Denshattack wants to be is a feast for the senses, as one of the first things that pops out to anyone who has seen this game is the incredible visuals that are on offer. Looking like it's been ripped straight from the mid-2000s, Denshattack boasts an incredible cel-shaded anime-inspired art style that's an attack on the senses in the best possible way. As I mean, just look at it. I know stuff like art styles are down to personal preference, as different strokes for different folks and all that, but I love games with a cel-shaded art style. Games such as Jet Set Radio and Hi-Fi Rush and Ni no Kuni are all personal favourites of mine due to many different factors. But the thing that stands out to me the most about these games are their incredible art styles that all use the same technique, but there is no mistaking Jet Set with Hi-Fi Rush or Ni no Kuni with The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, which for reference is my favourite video game of all time. So is there a bias? Of course there is. But if a game has an incredible cel-shaded art style, it's going to grab my attention, just like how Denshattack has. And in an industry that likes to go with a muted colour palette with a lot of their games, it's just nice to see a game with a little bit of colour, you know, and that's only one half of the game's presentation. It wasn't apparent until I actually tried the game for myself, but Denshattack has a killer soundtrack, and it's pretty apparent how it has such an amazing soundtrack. It's got T. Lopes, best known for Sonic Mania, contributing to the soundtrack, as well as having the legendary Shoji Meguro, aka the man behind the Persona soundtracks, contributing as well to the soundtrack. And that's all I need to know about the soundtrack. To know I'm definitely going to love it, and what I heard in the demo is definitely going to live up to the talent that is on board. The meat and potatoes of most games is the gameplay, and Denshattack certainly lives up to its incredible presentation by also having extremely addicting, engaging gameplay. Denshattack, like previously mentioned, plays very similar to something like Jet Set Radio and Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but with the gimmick of you controlling a train. So metaphorically and literally, you're on rails compared to Jet Set and Tony Hawk. You have the freedom to navigate a 3D space, but you're pretty much stuck on tracks with Denshattack. Are you to describe this to an audience without them seeing Denshattack? That sounds incredibly restrictive and probably very boring. but as you've been able to see from the gameplay I've been showing, it's really anything but. Yeah, you may be on a train track, but who said anything about staying on it? You can jump, flip, and trick between all the different tracks in the area, as well as perfect timing drifting around sharp corners. The gameplay is always extremely reactive, and never feels like you're just on rails. Pun definitely intended. But this is all just my feelings. I personally think Denshattack is a game you should definitely try for yourself, and see how you gel with it. I didn't realise how much I was going to love this until I tried it for myself. And luckily for us, there's a demo that you can try, either on Steam or the Switch too. The one on Steam is only a limited time demo, so if you want to give it a shot, I would do it sooner rather than later. And you're not on Steam, there's also the demo on the Switch too, if you have one, which is where I got my footage from. But quickly before I wrap up the video, I believe I should let you know the developers of Denshattack before you hand over your money for the game, and see what the credentials are before making the plunge. So Denshattack is being developed by a Spanish indie team called Undercoders, and looking at their previous track record, I'm going to be honest, I don't know most of these, so I can't really speak for their quality. But what is apparent to me is that their game's ambition has been increasing game by game, and Denshattack is certainly their most ambitious game to date. And if the game ends up sticking the landing, then it could make Undercoders much more of a household name. But it's down to you if you want to take the plunge when Denshattack releases. I know I will be. I've played the demo through at least 5 times now, and honestly, I can't get enough of it, and it's definitely one of my most anticipated indie games for the rest of the year. Denshattack releases for PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch 2, June 17th. And again, if you just need that little more convincing, check out the demo on Steam if it's still available, or Switch 2. Hopefully, the demo will be out on PlayStation and Xbox before the full release. If you watched to the end, thank you. I really appreciate it. Please, if you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let me know in the comments if you're going to check out Denshattack. But thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you again.